In collaboration with AB Capital Securities Inc., Global Strategy Real Estate presents to you the weekly stock market wrap-up, posting every Friday of every week.
今週もですね、AB キャピタルとの生ライブ対談、始めていきたいと思います。皆さんご存知の方もいますし、今回初めて参加される方もいると思いますので、少しこの生ライブについて、お話しておくと、一応ですね、2部構成でやっていきます。で、前半はですね、毎週 Q&A という形で皆さんのわからないことであったり気になることですね、何でもフィリピン株に関する情報を実際に AB キャピタルのプロのアナリストに聞いていきます。で、アナリストの方がですね、その場で答えていただくと。で、ここに関してはですね、同時通訳として私と家村がですね、解説していきますので、日本語の、英語のやり取りになるんですけども、日本語でしっかり解説していきたいと思います。で、後半はですね、毎週の、ウィークリーラップアップという形で、毎週その週のマーケットの状況、それから個別銘柄の情報ですね、等々を総括として、現地のですね、またプロアナリストの方に解説してもらいます。こちらはですね、後半の部分は少し英語でのやり取りになってしまいますので、英語わかる方はそのまま見ていただければと思います。で、少し厳しいという方はですね、後日、私たちの方で日本語の、スクリプトもつけて、再配信いたしますので、そちらでご確認いただいてもよろしいです。でですね、パネリストとして、参加している方々のご紹介を先にさせていただきます。まず私ですね、フィリピンアセットコンサルティングのメンバーとして私、松下と家村、そして現地のですね、弊社のスタッフとしてマリアン、で、AB キャピタルのアナリストとしてレクスターさんとランスさんに来てもらってます。ではですね、早速、今週の Q&A の方から入っていきたいと思います。今週はですね、先週2週に引き続き、2週に、分けて財閥銘柄の解説させていただいたんですけども、それに続いて、視聴者の方からですね、10バガーの方も解説してほしいという声いただきましたので、今回はですね、10バガー、皆さん10バガーという言葉初めて聞いたことある方はですね、10倍株という株があるんですけれども、10倍今後伸びる可能性があるという、結構ですね、フィリピン株にはこういう面白い株なんかもありますので、それをですね、一応、10個リスト出してますので、その解説をしていきたいと思います。一応ですね、実は私もこのフィリピン株、もうすでに投資していまして、で、特にですね、この10バガーの株にですね、を厚めに買って、今ポートフォリオを組んでいるんですけど、結構ですね、このコロナで皆さんフィリピン株非常に今、爆下がりといいますか、かなりですね、価格の落ちてるんですけど、10バガーの方はですね、結構調子も良くてですね、私の今、これ個人の情報になっちゃうんですけど、結構、ポートフォリオの方は年利ベースでいくと 30% 近く今上がってきているので、非常にですね、こういう10バガーの情報も持っておくと、こういうですね、コロナ禍においてもプラス出せるような、魅力がまだフィリピン株にはありますので、ぜひですね、このお話今日、よく聞いていただければと思います。というわけで、家村さん、早速よろしくお願いします。今週、一応ですね、こういった形で、10バガーの方、前半5つ、聞かせていただきました。結構多分この後ですね、しっかり日本語のスクリプトもつけて解説もしますけれども、多分ですね、こういう情報をしっかり持って、今のうちに投資しておけばですね、これ10バガーの方は非常に今後伸びていく可能性をたくさん持っていますので、私ももう投資して、30% 分は1年足らずですけど、出ていますので、ぜひですね、来週も 引き続き後半4つですかね、聞いていきますので、参加いただければと思います。で、この後ですね、後半、ウィークリーラップアップの方を始めていきたいと思いますので、先ほども冒頭に申しましたけど、英語厳しいという方はですね、この後、会員様向けに配信する、スクリプトの方を見ていただければ、ご理解いただけると思いますので、そちらで確認いただければと思います。では、ウィークリーラップアップの移っていきたいと思います。Marianne, could you start weekly wrap up?
Hello everyone and welcome back to the weekly stock market wrap-up with AB Capital Securities Inc. And today we have Mr. Lance to give this week's stock market report.
Hi everyone, I'm Lance and welcome to this week's market wrap. So first off, for the US markets, for last week, the Dow and the S&P hit their record close after the Labor Department reported positive jobs report. So the Labor Department reported 916,000 non-farm payrolls. And on top of that, they also reported that US job openings was at a 2-year high at 7.4 million. And what further lifted the positive sentiment last week was Fed Chair Powell's comment on inflation. So he stated that the rise in inflation for the US for this year is only transitory in nature, which eased fears of a possible rate hike for this year. And for the Philippines, some economic news, more think tanks downgrade Philippine growth forecast. So institutions such as S&P, Fitch, World Bank, and others have downgraded their GDP growth forecast for the Philippines this year, as we're still seeing surge in COVID cases despite the availability of vaccines. And according to the Department of Finance, there's going to be a slower than expected growth for the Philippines this year. So recall that the Greater Manila area, which composed of about 50%, more than 50% of the Philippines' total economy, was put under the strictest form of lockdown, which is the enhanced community quarantine. And according to the Department of Finance, that's going to cut the GDP growth by about 0.5%. So next, PH manufacturing expands in March at 52.2. So this is the third straight month of manufacturing expansion. However, for April, again, given the implementation of the enhanced community quarantine, we expect a bleak figure for April. Next, Palace asked to call a special session to pass third stimulus. Inflation eased to 4.5% in March. However, this is also the third straight month where inflation reached the upper end of the BSP's target, which is 4%. And finally, President Duterte signs executive order on lowering tariff on pork imports. So this should help ease inflation moving forward. And some corporate news, FGen unit aims to complete 2 geothermal projects by next year, and CLI's full year 2020 net income is down 8% to 1.8 billion pesos. So for the index, on a week-on-week basis, it's up 102 points, mainly on bargain hunting. However, if you'll notice the value turnover, it got thinner at just 5.3 billion pesos last week, which suggests that a lot of investors, despite the rally, still remain on the sidelines given significant uncertainties with regards to the country's economic recovery. And in terms of foreign transactions, last week it accumulated to 2.3 billion pesos. And that is the 8th straight week of net foreign selling. And year to date, net outflows accumulated to 35.9 billion pesos. And our outlook for this one is still the same. We continue to expect net foreign selling to persist most of the days, given that the COVID situation is worsening here in the Philippines. Active cases right now is over 150,000. As I've mentioned, the government put the Greater Manila area under ECQ for 2 weeks. However, despite that, daily cases for that 2-week period still average more than 10,000 cases per day. So as a result, hospitals remains to be overwhelmed. And for the past week, we've also seen a spike in the number of deaths. So having said that, on a year-to-date basis, the Philippine stock market is among the worst performing markets in the region. And in terms of PE, The index for 2021 is trading at 17.9 times PE, which is higher than the regional average of around 16.5 times, and close to its 5-year historical average PE of around 18.1 times PE. So just to give you an update of the COVID situation here in the Philippines. So the vaccine rollout so far, about 900,000 people have been vaccinated, which is equivalent to about 0.9% of the total Philippine population. As I've mentioned, we're still seeing surging daily cases. So the average daily cases for April so far is at 10,500. So just to give you an idea, from November to February, the average daily cases was just hovering around 1,300 to 1,800 cases per day. And for March, it jumped to around 5,000 cases per day. And for April, so far, again, right now, we're already at around 10,500 cases per day. So as a result, the government decided to put still a strict restrictions for the Greater Manila area. So we'll be under MECQ, or Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine, for the rest of April. And for our market outlook, given again that the COVID situation is worsening in the country, we expect the index to trade with a downward bias. We're looking at a range of 6,400 to 6,700. The market seems to have created the base at 6,400, so we think that it's good to accumulate index issues near the 6,400 level. And some key events. Both remittances will be on April 15, balance of payments April 19, and money supply will be on April 30. So again, for our stock picks, it's the same. We again adjusted the figures for the dividend pay. We included companies with relatively stable earnings that have high dividend payout. So we included Tel Globe and Meralco. And again, with the worsening COVID situation here in the Philippines, we've included retail picks such as Pure Gold, URC, and RRHI. And for the value play, this is still the same, since these companies are still trading with price to book of less than 1, which indicates that they are a good value investment. And to aid you with your trading, we included resistance and support levels. And finally, which companies are trading at a bargain based on their 10-year average PE. So again, the companies in the negative territory are the companies trading at a discount versus their 10-year average PE, and the companies in the positive territory are the ones trading at a premium versus their 10-year average PE. And that's it for this week's market wrap. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Ran-san. I have a couple of questions. One is page 9. You picked up you started a pandemic picks. So could you tell me why those 3 stocks you pick up? Pandemic picks.
Yes, actually, we consider these companies among the resilient ones, and if history can tell you, these are actually the companies that outperform. So these are actually essential items. So like Pure Gold is into groceries. Operations still continued despite the strict quarantine here in the capital. So there is a need for, of course, the customers still to go to the groceries. URC, on the other hand, produces consumer goods, so it remains to be resilient. Manufacturing, maybe food and the junk foods or in the like. So we think this is actually one of the more resilient ones. For Robinson's Retail, also it's partly into grocery outlets as well. So this is actually a sort of an alternative also to the resilient grocery sector here in the Philippines.
Okay, so why is the difference between URC upside 14.8 and pure gold and RRH, as rate series are just below the 40%. What is the essential difference between P gold, RHI, and URC?
Pure gold is heavily concentrated on supermarkets. So yeah, so it's more into a low cost to medium cost, and it also has a membership outlet, which is SFR. For Robinson's Retail, they also have grocery stores there, but part of the business is also into department stores, retail,
okay.
Retail outlets, bigger shops, retail outlets, hardware stores. URC, on the other hand, is more into consumer goods.
For example?
Yes, so this can be junk food, frozen foods, essential items. Yes.
URC is maker, producer.
Yes.
Manufacturer.
Yes.
Okay. P Gold and RRHI, they are retailer. URC is manufacturer.
Yes.
Okay. I see. I got it. And another stock picks, dividend picks. Okay. TEL, GLO. This is telecom companies. They still have a pretty big upside potentiality. I think actually even the pandemic period, broadband network and mobile phone businesses steady. So why those two stocks, TEL and GLO, still bargain price?
Yes. Well, we remain confident that they're still gonna continue to outperform for this year for PLDT and Globe. And of course, lots of offices are transferring into work from home setup. So demand for bandwidth will still be there. There's a lot of untapped market here in the Philippines, especially in the Visayas and the Mindanao region. So we think that among the sectors in the Philippines, the telcos will still be the resilient ones, which can offer you a good upside potential to their fair values, as well as give decent dividend yields on an annual basis, which is roughly around maybe 4 to about 5% dividend yields. I think that bodes well as well for Meralco, which is the largest electricity distributor here in the Philippines, and it supplies basically 70% of the power supply here in the country.
I see. So dividend yield, this week's dividend yield, this is annual basis, right? Annual basis.
Yes, annual basis.
Annual return.
Yes.
Okay, it's pretty high. All right, thank you very much. That's all my question.
Thank you, Mr. Lexter, Mr. Lance, Yumura-san, Matsushita-san for joining us today. And that's it for our weekly stock market wrap-up with AB Capital Securities Inc. Thank you and see you again next week.